And welcome into the Wheelhouse here, Elevation 5280 Sports and Lifestyle. Matt, maybe someday we'll have a fancy intro like the guys over on Undrafted, but until then,
one of these days,
until I stop being lazy and make it, or have this guy make it.
Yeah, get that one guy on it already.
Yeah,
he doesn't do anything.
I don't know what he does, but just sits in the corner. Well, happy New Year's Eve. Hope you had a very good Christmas. Don't forget to, just going to get this out of the way, don't forget to go to e5280sports.com, our home base, and enjoy everything up there. A lot of new content, a lot of new articles, blogs, whatever you want to call them, are up there. Andrew Murillo has been doing a good job of posting some good topics for you to read and debate about as well. So go to e5280sports.com, like our Facebook page. It's Elevation 5280 Sports and Lifestyle. Go follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, at 5280 Sports Radio, and go to our YouTube channel as well. Same thing. All right, it's not the same thing apparently. It is at 5280 Sports Lifestyle. So maybe he did finally change it. Maybe the guy in the corner over here finally got his stuff together. Matt, how was your Christmas?
It was really good. I had I think I thought for a while I ate too much because I was feeling really fat, like coming out of it, like on Tuesday and Wednesday. But it was really good. Outside of the eating too much, I got to spend a lot of time with family. We did our white elephant stuff, and it was good. The kids got everything they wanted. I got a rice cooker, so I was excited about that. Even though I've gotten pretty good at making rice without one, gotten pretty good at it. So it was pretty good. How about yours?
Well, it was a little bit better than last year. As you know, I was stuck in Florida.
Right.
I wouldn't say stuck. At least there was some family down there, so I was able to hang out with them. And so, yeah, I don't want to say Christmas sucks because it fell on a Monday, but it sucked because it fell on a Monday. And everyone had to go back to work on Tuesday, so that kind of puts a damper on it a little bit because like as soon as like Sunday or in that case Monday like tomorrow when Monday rolls around, I'm always dreading the next work day. So yeah. That's but it was good nonetheless. Yeah, are you going to make it to 12 o'clock tomorrow morning?
No, I'll probably be out by 10:30. I just don't see anymore for me. I don't see the advantage of doing that. Like you said, you got to get there's a lot of people that got to get ready for work and stuff like that. I was one of those people that never really got New Year's Day off unless it was a certain situation. So I never really was like, I'm going to stay up to see it because I always had to get up to go to work in the next morning. So yeah, that might be boring, but yeah, I'm not going to make it. I'm not even going to drink tonight. I'm not going to do any of that. It's going to be a regular night for me. It really is. But tons of fun over here, huh?
Yeah. Well, what I've been doing lately is on weekends. I've been falling asleep on the couch until like 1 or 2 a.m. and then just hauling it over to the bed real quick. So I might when I get up, it might be the new year, and then sleep for a few more hours. So I do have tomorrow off, which is a good thing. So that'll be nice. And then yeah. So back-to-back 4-day work weeks aren't bad for people who enjoy that. But welcome into the program here. Got a lot to get to today as baseball free agency has been going crazy, so we'll get into that here in a few. Has this been the most boring bowl season up to date as Georgia and Florida State proved to us that could be the case? I don't know if you saw that one dude. We'll get to it here in a bit, but this one dude was reading a book in the stands, Matt, during the the Georgia blowing out FSU. So get into that, and also the Russell Wilson and Sean Payton, and I guess the Russell Wilson and Broncos divorce. Is that what we're calling it?
That,
They,
yeah, that's weird. What are we calling that?
I don't know what we're
Is
calling
it amicable? What do you call
I
it?
don't know if it's really amicable, but we'll get into that right now as we present to you Fire. Hold on, let me turn the volume up before we hit the play button here. Fire and Ice.
It's now time for Fire.
Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire.
He's on fire!
I'm the only one a burning desire. Let me stand next to your fire.
And Ice.
Ice Cube, baby.
You're as cold as ice. Ice, ice, baby.
All right, Fire and Ice. This is what kickstarts our show, Matt, as we get into the topics over the past week and currently. One of them, I guess, is over, and we'll get to that here in a few minutes. But what do you want to start with today, Matt?
Let's go. Let's go ice. Let's go ice. Let's have veggies first. I can't remember what I did last time. I think I did fire last time. Let's go ice.
Yeah, I don't remember either. But like we just touched on, bowl season, Matt. I totally forgot bowl season has started. I did see snippets here and there of that Georgia and FSU game, which looked pretty terrible if you're a Florida State fan. Again, some dude took his shirt off and started reading a book in the stands during that game, and I feel like a lot of people could have or should have or would have done that with the right materials. But I mean, have you been keeping track of bowl season? Maybe when the actual top 4 teams get going here after New Year's.
Yeah.
Maybe that's when it'll get a little bit exciting. But I totally forgot. The Chick-fil-A Bowl and the Men's Rogaine Bowl and the I don't even know what else. Is it the Scott's Turf Green Bowl?
The Turf Builder, the Pop-Tart Bowl.
Yeah,
who played? Who was that in the Pop-Tart Bowl? The Pizza Roll Bowl. They had an actual, like, I don't know if you saw the mascot that went into the they did a toaster. They got a toaster, and he pretends like he's going into it, and then a big giant Pop-Tart comes out, and then the whole team was eating it. Yeah, bowl season.
That sounds actually pretty cool. I'd be more excited to see that.
I was telling my wife, we were watching it, and I told her the same thing. I was like, that looks like fun. It looks interesting. I'd love to be munching on that thing. And the way they did it, like, that was cool. But yeah, the bowl season, and the biggest reason for me this year, and I guess in the past couple seasons, is that typically this was the last chance for some of these players to show or to get out there. I know there's a Senior Bowl, there's all those things that they get invited to where they can showcase what they're wanting to do or what they can do. And then a lot of players, have been even like missing bowl games because they're getting ready for the draft, or they don't want to get hurt. We've seen injuries. We've seen guys get hurt in these games. So players that are going to the next level have stopped playing in these games. But now we have the transfer portal that there's, like, for example, Florida State, they had, there was a Booger McFarland, and there was guys going off, tweeting all this stuff over and over again about how many players they're missing. And it's true. There's a lot of teams that you can do the same thing. Miami was on their like third string freshman quarterback, or was it Ohio State? I don't know. There were so many of those situations throughout the entire bowl games, the bowl season, that it's hard to root for a bowl game. And then you can't even say, oh, well, these are players that are getting the opportunities that they didn't get to show who they are. It's bad for those. You don't want to see those players either, because if you're a coach like Florida State, like Norvell, he's got guys that are stepping up doing this, even though they got freaking slammed yesterday. But still, if you got guys making plays, those guys are going to be like, oh, I'm pretty good. Do I have a chance to play here next year? If they got new guys coming in, I'm going to go to the transfer portal. So with the transfer portal, I think the bowl season, unless you are vested in those games and those teams, it's just not as fun as it used to be. I mean, and even betting wise, like, I'm not putting any bets on these teams, because if they're not the true teams that you're getting. Or you could maybe, on the other hand, sneak some bets in and take some underdogs that like Missouri was just smoking everybody, and they got a lot of guys coming back, so you could have gotten to there, but there's just not a lot to get up for bowl season, in my opinion, anymore, and it's tough outside of the top 4. And there was people pointing yesterday, this is why Florida State didn't make it and stuff. I still think you got to give them the benefit of the doubt that they had a lot of guys that were out because of that transfer portal or whatever you want to call it that didn't play. But so yeah,
Right.
boring.
And like you said, I would have loved to see the Pop-Tart go into the toaster. That sounds enjoyable. I would have loved to see that. All right, Matt, next on our ice list, Matt. Well, we kind of touched on this the last couple of weeks, and it's the Detroit Pistons. They had lost 28 in a row, Matt. They finally snapped the streak yesterday. So it is over.
It's over.
Finally. It is over. And I saw something crazy, Matt. The Texas Rangers had won a game before the Detroit Pistons had won a game. That's how long this streak went. Like Texas were the Rangers who won the World Series they won late, like more recently than the Detroit Pistons. Pistons are now 3-29 on the season as they beat the Toronto Raptors yesterday. So they're finally off the snide. Cade Cunningham, by the way, has been doing everything in his power to wield this team to a victory to snap the losing streak. And I don't know if you saw that devastating loss. They were up by 20 against Boston, and then Boston comes back and wins in overtime. That was crazy. But it is over now, Matt, but the Detroit Pistons now own the longest winning streak in all of the NBA, in NBA history. But it is over now.
I love this team. I really do. From the coach to the roster, they're not, it's crazy. I can't, they just don't know how to win. And that Celtics game was a perfect example of the way they were going, and they just couldn't do it. Like you said, I thought that was it. There was a lot of people that thought that was it, that they were finally going to do it, being up that much. And then Boston comes back and wins in overtime. And it shows you, and it was Cunningham that said something that I think it was Cade Cunningham that said it. This shows that we're right there with those teams, and we can play with those teams. They're there. And it's just so because I feel for Monty Williams and I feel for the roster, and it's so good to see them win. But that Boston game, you can tell, I got to watch it. I went back and watched it. You could tell they went through it in that game. They were up. They was like, oh, this is what it feels like. We're good. We're good. We're going to do it. And then you can see Boston start to come back. And then you can see that their attitudes change, Detroit Pistons attitudes. And it's like, nah, here we go again. We're not that team. And then you can just see the doubt and everything start to go into that team. And I'm rooting for the Detroit Pistons. I really am. And I just, it's good to see them get off the snide, I guess, so to speak, and get the win. But I was just watching that team go through it emotionally. And I could feel it. I could man, this team, I think they're still going to be good. They're going to be a good team. It's crazy. We got to witness history in an opposite way, but that Boston game, if you get a chance, I don't know if you will, Mike, but if you do want to go watch the emotional roller coaster of the NBA, a young NBA team that doesn't know how to win yet, that was a perfect game to see.
Yeah, and I kept seeing the score, and I'm just like, oh, they might do it, and then it goes to overtime, and then they drop it. So I'm sure they went through it. A young team experiencing it. I mean, this might be good for them in the long run. Losing this much, and then capturing the longest losing streak in NBA history. This might be good for them because they always say you got to go through some crap, Matt, to make it to the top. So
yep.
I mean, you couldn't get any lower than where they were, and I guess where they are. I don't know. I would say there's enough time to turn the season around. So they're 3-29. So they've played 32 games. So there's about 50 games left. I mean, unless they go on some historic winning streak, then maybe. Yeah. But I think they're gonna. I think they're gonna have to shelf this season. And there's always I don't want to say built-in excuses, but for lack of a better term, I'm going to, just because they are such a young team and, just full of first and second year guys. I think it was Isaiah Stewart, who is Draymond Green Jr. He is like the oldest guy on the team, and he's 25 or something
Right.
like that. So
Yep.
they are I think they're the youngest team in the NBA, if I'm not mistaken. So, zero research, all reaction. So
And
that's
Monty Williams is a great coach. Like, he's a great coach, and like, he's gonna get them right. He's gonna get them where they need to be. They got Bogdanovich is over there.
oh yeah, he might be the oldest.
Yeah, he might be. And the one of the Thompson brothers are over there, and Burks, and there's just the roster is young, and like you said, they're going through this stuff, and it's good for them to go through it. And I think Monty Williams is not a bad coach. I believe in what he brings to a basketball team, and what he had going there in Phoenix. And I was more afraid of what Monty could do if he got the right guys there than I was about them trading for Durant or Bill or whatever it was that they ended up doing. And then Monty was out. So there's a lot of belief there in me with the Pistons. Like you said, maybe not this season, but next year for sure, or even further. I think the future is really bright, even though they went through hell to get to where they are, to get that third win of the season.
Right. All right. Next on our ice list, Matt, we kind of touched on it. The whole Russell Wilson situation in Denver is absolutely crazy. And Sean Payton, there's been Ryan Clark and Dan Orlovsky just going off on the Broncos management, GM or Sean Payton, whatever the combination is, Matt, just saying they're handling this unprofessionally and stupidly, pretty much, saying, I think it was Dan Orlovsky who said, and maybe we could pull up the YouTube clip here, but basically saying, look, this is not how you handle this kind of situation. And if you want to cut him, that's fine, he says, but to do it to a guy who's, like he said, been a pretty good face of the league, if you will. Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee. I don't know if he's won it before, but he's always nominated every year. He's got the little Walter Payton patch on his jersey every year. And I'm gonna try to pull this up here, Matt.
You got it. I can get it.
To excuse me, to get to where Russell Wilson is today. And he was on I do agree with Dan Orlovsky. He was on a Hall of Fame trajectory. And here we go as we got this up.
The way that they've handled it has been unprofessional, and classless. Listen, if you want to bench him, you're absolutely in football. Go to him and say, we want you to alter your contract that we signed off on, or else we are going to threaten to bench you and/or bench you, is not a way that you handle business in the NFL. It's certainly not a way that you handle a guy that has been a pro and a Super Bowl champion for 10 plus years. It's not a way that you handle a person that was on a Hall of Fame trajectory. And it's for sure not the way you handle someone who's a Walter Payton Man of the Year. This is not about feelings. No one's going to feel bad for Russell Wilson because of his money, okay? This is about the way that you treat someone that in many ways has always been a good representative of your organization and your league. You're absolutely entitled to bench him, whether people agree with it or not. To go to him and say, alter your contract or we're going to threaten to sit you is not the way you do business in the.
You're muted. I think you're muted.
Yep, definitely muted. I think Dan Orlovsky pretty much. I mean, I totally agree with him. You might not be. I mean, listen, Russell Wilson's having a better season than Patrick Mahomes, numbers wise, and obviously the Chiefs are a way better team, so they have a better record, not what they're accustomed to the last couple of years. But that's a story for another day. But yeah, if you're going to bench him. But the way they handled it going up, and I don't know if you saw that Russell interview, maybe we can pull that up as well, saying they came up to him after the Kansas City game, man, a big Kansas City win, saying, and that's when they brought this that's when they brought this up to him, Matt. The whole ultimatum of fix your contract or we're going to sit you the rest of the season. And what, 2-3 games went by after the Kansas City win, and nothing happened. And then they lost 2-3 in a row, and then that's when they're like, yeah, we're done with this guy.
The decision to do it is not the part like Dan said, and I do agree in the sense that the way that they handled it, the way that they went at him, and I've read a couple reports too that were saying that they asked him to defer it, not to waive the whole thing. They asked him to defer it, which I think Tom Pelissero said this one, which would have made him basically kept him here, like guaranteed that he stays here, and that he's a Denver Bronco because he says he wants to be here. He says he wants to be a Denver Bronco, and that would have kept him here, so to speak, if he would have deferred it. Now, however you want to say it, from Russell's point of perspective, from Russell's camp's perspective, he was given an ultimatum. From the Broncos' perspective, he was asked to defer it. So it's however you want to look at it. It happened, right? It was said, it happened. However you want to look at it is from whatever side you're on. But it was said. And what I think the worst part of the handling of this is that they should just cut him, or like Arlasky said, or just don't tell him to show up. The worst part is he's going to be sitting on the sidelines, and he's going to be the QB2. If you don't want him to get hurt, why does he even have a football helmet? Why does he even have the option to be on the field if you don't want him to get hurt? That's the worst part of this, in my opinion, is they should have just told him to go home. Said him, you're done. We don't need you here. We're done. We're moving on. That's what you, instead of the whole that was kind of that's where it threw me for a loop. And for Russell Wilson, the human being, yeah, you feel horrible for. You don't treat people like this. But at the same time, the NFL as a business, as other teams, as they've been doing this for years.
It's a cutthroat business.
Yeah, that's the way it works. And it's just like I'd be sad if they did this to my neighbor. You know, my neighbor comes home telling me over a beer or whatever that they did this to him and it sucks. But
hey, you don't live here anymore.
Yeah, you know, you're done. I get it, but it's so I'm upset for the person. I'm sad for the guy. I mean, yeah, the money's one thing, you know. And then Wilds from another show, another sports entertainer, came out and posted something that he's going to make 142 million or 149 million, and he only won 11 games. So Russell Wilson, he will be. He's going to play for the vet minimum somewhere. Some team's going to pick him up. He's still going to play next year.
Yeah, I read there's already 4 teams in the mix. Minnesota being probably the top team to sign him until, or depending on what Minnesota does with Kirk Cousins, because they're saying he might miss half of next year. I guess he doesn't have the goat urine that Aaron Rodgers is using for an Achilles injury.
Oh my God. Yeah, I see both ways of it. I feel like it could have been done differently, I guess. I don't know. Like you don't go to him at that time to say that to him after he just beat the Chiefs. Like the first time the team has beat the Chiefs, and this Broncos team has beat the Chiefs since Mahomes has been the quarterback, basically. So that's the timing of it and all this coming out. But it was funny how like Russell Wilson's camp had this in the chamber. Like they were waiting for him to get benched, waiting for this situation to happen. And the timing was crazy because they're still in a playoff window, right?
At that time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they're almost like, people dating, and they're just dragging them along to see if they can get something good out of the person.
Yeah.
And if not, you just kind of ghost them. I feel like because they beat the Chiefs and then they went on they won 5 in a row, and they're like, oh, Russ is playing good. We'll see. And then you lose 2-3 in a row, and they're like, yeah, we're done.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you, I get not tanking the season, Matt, because you were able to turn the season around at one point and you were in a playoff window. But now, Matt, now this franchise is screwed because not only are you going to have to cut Russell Wilson to, free yourself from all ties from him, and you're going to eat what is it, the number of the cap hit, 78 million or something?
80. I think it was more like 80.
Okay,
think, when it's all said and
the,
done, I think. But
you can't trade him unless that team picks up his contract, which nobody wants to do. You can't trade him because then you're still on the shelf for
and
what?
he has a no trade clause.
2-3 more years or whatever it is. I mean, he might waive his no trade clause at this point because he seems pretty pissed off. He's not going to come out and say it because, he doesn't really say that kind of stuff. And I read a report too. He can't go to Atlanta because Future runs that town, and Future and Sierra. So the whole thing is, Matt, they have to cut him, and that's going to be what they do in March before the league season hits. But their problem is, Matt, now not only are you on the shelf for $80 million around that number when you cut him, but now you're going to finish what? 7-10, 8 whatever.
8,
and
like, what is it? 9 and 8 at the best.
At the best, if they win out, right? So
if they win out,
and now you're stuck with what? Between 16 and 20 in the first round. So now you're not even going to get one of those top quarterbacks. You're going to either be reaching for one that should have been in the second round, Paxton Lynch, and then, or somehow one of these first round rated quarterbacks are going to fall to you. So they're screwed all around. This might set the franchise back even a few more years because let's face it, I like Russell Wilson. I don't really feel bad for him because let's face it, man, he has more bathrooms still than he does wins in his house.
I know.
12 bathrooms, 11 wins. So the money part of it, I don't feel bad for him. He's going to latch on somewhere. I was always a Russell Wilson supporter. I tried sticking up for him. He's having a good season, but it is what it is. Again, this football season has been strange. The least amount of football I've ever watched. So take that for what it is. But now, I mean, neither of these guys, Stidham or Russell Wilson, man, are not the long-term answer anyway. Unless they give Stidham the beginning of next season, I don't know.
Well, and that another thing too that was talked about in that report was that they were going to give Russell Wilson an option to compete for the job in 2024. And the writing has been on the wall since Sean Payton got here. And like we've talked about this a lot on this show, that the best case scenario is Russell Wilson to work out, is Russell Wilson to be successful, is Sean Payton to be successful with Russell Wilson, because it wouldn't set the franchise back. You wouldn't be scrambling for a quarterback next year. You wouldn't be your draft capital, your draft ability is kind of jacked for the next couple seasons. If you want to, you'll have a first round pick this year, but still it's jacked because you traded multiples to get this guy. You traded away a quarterback that you drafted in the second round. You traded away what Noah Fant was a first round draft pick. You traded him away. You traded away Shelby Harris, who is doing well in Cleveland. Would all these players contribute now? I'm not saying that. No, I don't know if they would. But you gave away so much to just now you're going to be a cap hit. And I know the cap hit is there and everybody looks at it. And another thing we got to keep in mind too, especially as fans, that's not our money. That's not going to hurt us. And as far as the Broncos are concerned with this new ownership group, they got a lot of money. There's a lot of money that they can throw into upfront stuff and to pay you right now. They can do a lot of that. There's a lot of ways they can do it.
And if you remember, they made this trade before the Walton Penner Group took over the franchise.
Exactly.
So this could be their decision. They're like, they might be like, hey, we're done with this guy. Like we didn't make this move. We didn't approve this move. This happened Matt? Couple months before they even took over.
Before they even got involved. Yeah.
And let's face it, I've been telling everybody this. 30 out of 32 teams at the time, Matt, you're trading for Russell Wilson.
Yeah. You are.
Maybe 29 out of 32. You're Buffalo, Kansas City, and Tampa Bay at the time, who had Brady at the time. They're not trading for Russell Wilson.
And Mike, too, we got to look at the crux of this whole situation. We can go back to this is Aaron Rodgers' fault. This is Aaron Rodgers' fault. They hired Nathaniel Hackett to get Aaron Rodgers. They thought he was going to come here. So when they got Hackett, they had to do something. I strongly blame Aaron Rodgers for all this because they had to do it. If they didn't bring Hackett in, if they went another way with some type of quarterback or coach, or even they looked at Hackett in a different situation and brought in Dan Quinn. If they would have brought in Dan Quinn, I mean, would they have still went and traded for Russell Wilson? Probably. They could have. They needed to do something. They felt like they needed to do something because they weren't going to bring in a new coach and then say, hey, here's this Drew Lock guy. Let's see if you can work with him. Maybe you can fix him, and then you can draft your quarterback in the next year because we're not going to be very good anyway. It wasn't that. It was a splash move that they had to do. And so, like you said, yeah, a lot of other teams would have done it, but I feel like the Broncos felt like they had to do it to get that kind of quarterback that they thought they were going to get.
And everyone blames because he still had 2 years left on his Seattle deal. That's where I guess the wrench was thrown into it, Matt, because they gave him that huge extension, that huge money before he played it down for the Broncos. So that's where everyone's kind of iffy on the whole thing. Again, 98% of the league would have made that trade. Whether you give him that extension or not, that's up to that team. But that's where Denver screwed up, and now you're on the hook for a lot of money.
Yeah, and you don't have a quarterback. You're looking for a quarterback again. Again. So it's and you don't have like there was a draft scenario. I think it was I can't remember who brought it up, but I'll have to look on Twitter, or X. And it was good. It was like Pat Surtain was involved. We've talked about trading Pat Surtain. We've talked about multiple number ones. That would if you have involved Pat Surtain in a deal, that would kind of check off those number ones for you. And you got Chicago sitting right there. They've said that they're happy. Justin Fields has done enough for them to not think about drafting a quarterback. You never know. What example of running an NFL franchise does this ownership, the Penner Group, have? It's the Rams. What have the Rams done multiple times in their past, in the recent 10, 15 years, 10, 12 years? They've traded multiple first-round picks over and over again to get that quarterback, whether it was through the draft or to trade for him, and they got a Super Bowl to go for it. So they could this ownership group could take that, a little bit of that, and load in on a big trade again this year. I'm not saying that they should, but that's something that could be a possibility.
Or they make a trade to try and move up in the first round or something like that.
Chicago's sitting right there, and they've said like, and I'm sure you've seen it too. You being a Bears fan, they've got a little situation there with Justin Fields. If they're going to keep him, are they really going to use that top pick on Harrison Jr. from Ohio State or one of those receivers? Are they really going to use that on it? No, they're probably going to trade out of that.
So yeah, we will see come draft time here in a few months. Already a few months, Matt. Already 3-4 months away from the NFL draft. Way too early to be talking about that, but it's coming. It's going to be here before you know it. All right, that wraps up our ice list. Moving to fire, staying on the same topic, Matt. And you wanted to cover this one, Matt, but Sean Payton's cojones.
Oh, and the reason why I said that is because what this guy has done since he's got here is and a lot of people are saying he's throwing Russ under the bus, throwing this, and then now he's the only one accountable. You got to look at him next year. I hear all the local sports entertainers, the national sports entertainers, calling him out, saying he's the one now, and anything happens wrong. He's always been that guy. When he got here, whether you wanted him here or not, whether he was your choice, whether he was the first choice, fourth choice, he's came here to Denver, and what he has done is took everything and put it on him. It's on me. And he did that with the call out of Nathaniel Hackett and how Russ was. He defended Russ, and he got a lot of slings and arrows. He got a lot of arrows about that too, saying you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to badmouth the coaching staff. You're not. It's a code. It's blah blah blah. He stuck up for Russ, saying it wasn't all this guy's fault because of what the coaches he had. He stuck up for him. and basically what he did when he was saying that, if we don't make the playoffs this year, I'm going to be upset. I'm going to be shocked and all that. He did it at the beginning of the season. He took it all and put it on him. You get a little lattes in him, he'll tell you all kinds of things. And that's what I got from Sean Payton. And then he did it again. The only thing I didn't like is when he said, I don't know what's going on when it comes to the contract negotiations. That doesn't involve me. That's BS. Now he's going to say stuff like that, but that's BS. And he's even taking it on the chin, taking it. Some people disagree with me. I get it. I understand that people don't like Sean Payton and they're saying he's a thug, he's a bully, whatever you want to call it, but he's taking all this and putting it on his chest. And that's why I put him on the hot list, and he's got the cojones. He's walking around with the wheelbarrow like in South Park with I forgot his name now. It's not Stan. The dad in South Park. Oh, that's going to kill me. But anyway, he's
Randy.
Randy, you know what I'm talking about. He's walking around with the wheelbarrow. People might not like it. People might say he says it all the time himself. He fell off the Parcells tree.
Yeah.
So he's got that in him.
He inherited a lot of this too, just like the Penner Walmart group.
Right.
Like it was never a good fit between him and Russell Wilson. Let's face it.
No.
And so, I mean, he might not have anything to do with the contract and stuff like that. And maybe maybe Walmart came up to him and said, hey, if you want to be a greeter at our store, if you want to be the face of our company, then you're going to tell Russell Wilson he's not playing for the rest of the season. And I don't know. This is just it is a weird situation. I don't really care how they handled it. I don't feel bad for Russ, even though I've been on the Russ tree, Matt, trying to support him and stick up for him. But at this point, I mean, now this franchise is going back another couple of years searching for a quarterback.
Right. And Russ was, and my take on Russ is he was never the problem. He was never just the problem. But he wasn't the solution. He wasn't the guy that they wanted, whether it was last year, whether it was this season. I mean, yes, everybody throws the statistics out. He's having a good statistical year and blah, blah, blah. He's doing the Russell Wilson things at the end of the game. But what about all that crap in between? What about all that junk that I don't know how many times you saw the opposing team's offense go out there and have a great series, and all you need for Russell Wilson to do is extend the series, get a couple first downs, give the defense a rest, and he goes 3 and out. And you can tell that he switched up plays, and he called off one play, another play, and that's another thing too that was getting thrown about is Sean Payton doesn't know how to come out in the second half and call. I think the guy has a way of he wants to do things, and if you check audible out of certain plays, it screws up what the play caller's doing. And that's why a lot of things Sean Payton's getting pissed off about is because if the way Sean Payton's calling plays to set things up for future, and Russ is always checking out and running around the pocket and not doing this, then it's holding things back. And there's a lot of, I read a stat that Russ is responsible for 60 something % of the sacks by not throwing the ball or making bad decisions that he had in the pocket this year or his career in Denver. But there's a lot of problems with this team, but you can't put them all on Russell Wilson, but you can't put them all on Sean Payton as well. There's, like you said, is this amicable? Did I say that correctly? Is this maybe like a,
I don't know how to say it.
Amicable? Or was this an annulment? Is this a time enough to where it's not a divorce?
Well, it's definitely not an annulment because
they're going to have to pay money.
Because the Broncos are not getting any money back.
Yeah. So it's crazy.
If anything, Russell Wilson signed
a prenup.
The annulment, right?
Prenup. Russ got the prenup.
Yeah. He's getting all the money he wants.
Yeah. He's a gold digger, Kanye warned him. Kanye warned him.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I used, from what I heard, she used to F with Usher. So
yeah.
So
I was listening to a song and Future was on it. And I swear there was a Russell Wilson diss or something. And then I went on a long time. I just went on a rabbit hole of listening to Future.
Down, yeah.
And I was.
What's crazy is I couldn't even name you one Future song.
They're not bad. They're not.
I
It's
heard he's not bad, but I also
it's
heard that also heard that Russ and Future get along because let's face
they
it,
do.
his
They got to
kid
be
lives in a huge.
co-parents.
I mean, the kid probably lives in 2 mansions, so I think he's doing all right.
But Sierra's the most talented one in that entire family. Let's just be honest, okay?
Yeah,
Like
and
she's the
she
best.
she's the most talented in that family, and she hasn't put out a song in like 10 years. That should tell you all you need to know.
This beat is automatic. You know, we could
There you
just,
go.
whatever.
All right, number 2 on the fire list, man. I think this is as far as we went on the fire list. And we hate to do it, but the Los Angeles Dodgers have absolutely I wanted to use a word that I probably shouldn't, but they absolutely stole away free agency, Matt. Not only getting Shohei Ohtani from the Anaheim Angels. Speaking of deferring money, he deferred all his
Mhm.
money. So we're gonna have a not only a Bobby Bonilla day, man. We're gonna have a Shohei Ohtani day when he calls it quits, and we'll be celebrating whatever money that the Dodgers don't care.
Dodgers don't care.
Dodgers flat out say they just flip off the luxury tax and be like, yeah, we're the new Yankees apparently.
Jeez.
So and then they sign Otani's buddy from Japan, Matt. I'm gonna butcher his first name and probably his last name, so I'm just gonna say Yoshi because that's what it starts with. Yoshi Yamamoto.
Yeah, I believe it's Yamamoto. It's very
Either
yeah.
way, pretty much Japanese superstar pitcher from where Shohei Ohtani resides. So they got both. They got the 2 buddies over there. I mean, just those 2 guys, Matt, are pretty huge. And there was a couple moves. The Braves got Chris Sale from the Red Sox yesterday.
I saw that yesterday.
And the Red Sox went ahead and got Lucas Giolito. Speaking of which, the White Sox traded him when the Angels made all those moves at the deadline last year. Remember the Angels got they got a bunch of guys from the Rockies, CJ Crone and Randall Grichuk, and then they traded for Giolito from who at the time was the White Sox ace, by the way.
Yep.
And then they designated Randall Grichuk and Giolito. Giolito got picked up by Cleveland about a quarter left of the season. So now he is on Boston as well. Chris Sale, I loved him. Speaking of White Sox, I loved him when he was on the White Sox. I don't know. I think he's on the downward slope, Matt. He's of his career, so not much in the tank there. But just the 2 signings that the Dodgers made were absolutely incredible. We hate to see it here in the NL West, but and then I don't know if you can. I guess free agency, but winning the offseason, they're up there as well. And of course the Yankees get Juan Soto, so got to throw that in there as well. So they'll have a pretty. I don't know if it's the Murderer's Row 2.0, but it's going to be dangerous for pitchers to head into the Bronx next year.
It's I don't know what to do with baseball anymore. Like it's like that scene in Moneyball, which was on the other day, and I loved it. There's the rich teams, and then there's all this feed of crap, and then there's this. Like that's really what it is. Like I don't know if we're ever going to see a Moneyball situation. The team come from nowhere. The Diamondbacks kind of did it.
The Rockies are playing Moneyball. They're just not successful at it.
Did you hear? You didn't talk about the Rockies. They got a new addition. They got a Slurpee machine that actually makes its own vodka while it pours your Slurpee. So you're getting fresh vodka. It's going to be on like the upper party deck, like the party deck.
That's where the vodka is tossed around like hotcakes over there.
Yeah, you forgot about their signing. How dare you, Mike? You forget about their addition. But it's like you can't. You don't want to. You want to root for teams. You kind of want to root for your team, but how can you when you got these guys coming in with these loaded lineups, and whether it's 1 through 9 on the card, or it's the pitchers, and they're doing it with money, and it's crazy. Like, yeah, Matt, that sounds pretty, but it's I don't know how competitive it's going to be. Because you always like to root for these teams, Biggest reason why I hated the Yankees for the longest time was because they went out and they bought they were Oregon, like different like the Rockies farm club. I felt like they were organ donors for all these other teams. Like the A's were
Still are.
organ. They still are. And by the way, real quick, is Nolan Arenado trade the worst in Denver history? I don't think so. I think Russell Wilson is. But anyway, we're gonna move forward. Keep moving
see,
on
again, the trade wasn't bad. It was the money that they gave him.
the money they gave up was dog crap.
Because
anyway.
if they wouldn't have signed him, again, I hate to harp on this Russell Wilson thing.
No, I know.
Yeah. If you didn't give him that money, Matt, you're free and clear of him after the season.
That's what the thing was. But the money with baseball is just something that it's hard for me to relate to anymore. And I love baseball. I do. I love to watch baseball, but Major League Baseball, the MLB, is really tough for me going forward. And the Dodgers, they're another team. I always hated the Dodgers, but now it's kind of like, dang, like why wouldn't you root for the Dodgers at this point? What's stopping you from rooting against the Dodgers? Because they're loaded with everybody. You can why not just jump on the bandwagon? Like I thought about going that way instead of trying to hate, because if I hate a team, then I want my team to beat that team. But when my team's garbage, how can I, does that make sense, Mike? Like I'm starting to go back the other way. If I want to enjoy something, maybe I should enjoy it by jumping on a bandwagon and rooting for the Yankees or the Dodgers.
Yeah, as much as the Rockies suck, I'll probably never jump on either of those bandwagons. I mean, I don't even think both the teams I follow, being the Rockies and White Sox, I don't even think either of their win totals added up to either of the Dodgers or the Yankees win totals. And the Yankees didn't even make the playoffs last year.
Right.
So that's where I'm sitting, Matt. Never jumping off.
I might have a Yankees hat this year. I don't know, Mike.
Yeah.
Hey, would you think
we
worse
may
of me?
we may have to eat the money and cut you. So that's if you're
I'm not
sporty,
waving my claws. I'm not waving my injury claws.
Wear it backwards so I don't see it. By the way, Nick Archuleta, undrafted, is a Yankees fan, and I threw them not making the playoffs in their face, and then he flashed his 27 rings at me, and I'm just,
yeah. See, that's another thing too. Like they got so many. Like I'm just gonna start bandwagon riding. Like why not?
If that's it, you might as well jump on the Lakers then. They won the championship this year.
Never. Oh, they did.
They're a championship team this year.
And I was gonna throw them on the cold list, but I think they won last night. Didn't they win last night?
No, I think they lost because Bron's foot
night?
was on the line.
Because they've lost like 7 of 6 or something, or 7 of 6, 6 of 7, or something crazy like that since they've been the champs.
By the way, did you see Detroit? They just put this up in the Palace. They hung a banner and it says "Snap the 29-game losing streak."
That's as good as
that is up in Detroit right now.
Oh boy!
Did you see the Knicks banner? By the way, the Knicks got a banner.
Yeah, and they got. Did you see the trade they made too? Quigley and Barrett for.
That was a huge trade.
That's huge trade, and because man, I was wondering where that dude was going to go. I was wondering where he was going to end up, but he's a Knick now.
Yeah, he is a. I mean, what do you make of RJ Barrett? Is he? Would you? I mean.
I'd love to have him on my team. Maybe not the Nuggets, maybe not the Nuggets, but because of the way the Nuggets are set right now. But if I had a team, I'd love to have that. He's not full. He's still got a little bit more seasoning. Like he's right there, but he's just got like as he came out that same year Zion did, and I feel like the hype around him wasn't as big as it was with Zion. But I always felt like he would produce more sooner than Zion did, and Zion has, but Zion's never available. So I really
you can cash Zion at your local McDonald's. So not too far away.
No, he's getting that. What do they call that? The adult Happy Meal. Have you got that?
The double McZion, I think they call it in New Orleans at least.
With extra cheese. That isn't that funny how they were telling him,
Williamson.
Excuse me. They were telling him to, hey, why don't you cut back? And he's like, nah, I'm good.
I mean, with the I was gonna say technology, but with the side people that professional sports teams has, Matt, there's no excuse to be overweight. There's no excuse to be in debt. There's no excuse for any of this stuff, Matt.
Unless you're just flat out don't care.
Here's the
and
banner, by the way,
irresponsible.
that the Knicks hung up. A couple, I think last week. So there's the Knicks new banner right
Beat
there.
the insurgents. The IST champs are here.
Yeah. So December 18th, so before Christmas. So this has been up there for about a week and a half. Beat the in-season tournament champion LA Lakers. So the Knicks hung that up out there in what is their Madison Square Garden. So they have another banner.
Man.
So everyone's hanging banners.
Everyone's hanging banners. And have you seen that the Oklahoma City Thunder? They're the next NBA champs.
They could be, honestly.
This
They're
team,
a good team.
This team is
They hung a banner the other day. It said beat the defeating NBA champions.
Beat the defending champions, because they were, and I heard that what was his name? Oh, I forget his name now. Not Shea. Shea doesn't think that they're there yet. Shea thinks that they're, but the other cat, I think it was Johnson, Jalen, or no, it was what there's two
Jalen
guys.
Williams?
Yes.
They have three Williams.
They have two guys named the same name. It was that guy.
Jalen Williams, by the way, is from Denver. One of the Jalen Williams is from Denver.
He was walking by and he saw the Larry O'Brien trophy, and his comment was, "That I like that trophy. I might have to come get that trophy." Y'all, calm down, Oklahoma City. Calm down. All right, just relax.
I mean, in their defense, they blew out the Nuggets the other night.
They did, and then they got a game time goal, a game time or a end of game bucket to beat them, and they've beat them this year. But in a 7-game series, we got to remember that these games are played in 7-game series. The Nuggets would destroy this team in a 7-game series. I'm just saying.
And it was a back-to-back on a back-to-back.
On the Nuggets, what, 10th back-to-back of the season?
They played
crazy.
It was like 10 games in 12 nights or something crazy like that. But anyway. Speaking of Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Matt, I don't know if there's and for lack of a better, I don't know if there's a more humble superstar in the league, Matt. Have you noticed, like, when he dunks and makes threes and stuff like that, he just runs back to the other side? There's none of this celebrating.
I love him.
There's none of this gun celebration. John Morant.
Yeah.
There's just none of this. I mean, he literally just runs back on the other side and plays defense. He does not do anything.
I love Shea, and I mean, and his post game talk was great. You know, he even said it too, that we're not there yet. This stuff feels good. This feels good to win like this, to come in and beat the defending champs, but we're not there yet. We still have a long ways to go. So I love the mindset of that kid, and he's in that talk right now for sure. And I don't think this year he's going to get it, but he's one of those kids, one of those guys that going forward, he's going to get he's definitely going to be in serious consideration for that MVP.
Is that the biggest mistake that the Clippers have ever made, by the way?
I mean, there's a lot that the Clippers have done, but you can look at it because they didn't draft Michael Porter Jr. either. They could have. There was a lot of talk about that. Even though, however you want to look at Michael Porter Jr., then they did with what they did with Harden here, but you could look at it, and say that not keeping him.
What trade was he a part of?
I want to say it had something to do with Chris Paul, didn't it? Or was it a Melo deal? Because was it a 3-team trade?
It might have been the Chris Paul deal, because
I thought it had something to do with Chris Paul.
Yeah, because
Paul was in.
Well, no, because didn't Paul go to Houston after the Clippers?
I thought he went to did he go to Houston before?
No, because
and then he went to Oklahoma City. When did he go to? What's that guy doing? Is he eating donuts again?
Yeah. So let me pull this up. But yeah, I don't know which. Excuse me, the trade that he was a part of. Man, you should see his picture with the Clippers. So on July 10th, 2019, the Clippers traded Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, and 5 first-round
yeah.
picks, which have turned into Chet Holmgren, your homeboy
That's right.
Giddy. But anyway, 4 first-round draft picks to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Oh, for Paul George. It was the Paul George
It
trade.
was a Paul George trade.
Just
That-
for Paul George. That's all the Clippers got.
Oh, yeah. Then yes, they regret that.
I mean, Paul George is good, but
Paul George has done nothing to make that team better. So let's look at it this way. What Shea Gilgeous-Alexander has done is more for that Oklahoma City Thunder team has been more than what Paul George has done for the Clippers. I think we could say that because
Well,
what
yeah.
have the Clippers done?
and
Nothing.
not only that, I think the Thunder still have like 19 first-round picks over the next 3 years.
See, the Thunder are in a position to where they could trade those picks or even some of these young guys if they want to break up this deal because they're on the trajectory of the Nuggets.
Yeah.
They are. How the Nuggets built the team up, got experience, and then boom, they're on that trajectory. But at the same time, if they wanted to get fancy and go trade for a superstar, they have the ability to do it.
I don't know if they will. I think they.
I don't think they will.
Yeah, I think they want to kind of stay low key, young. All these guys, maybe except for Shea, is on rookie deals. So I mean, they could though, since they're paying all these dudes what. I don't even know what the rookie deals are nowadays, but you can afford to go out and get a superstar to add a nice veteran piece with these young guys.
And
I don't know.
It just depends on if they like you said, because I feel like they're more along the lines of like Denver is. You want to call them a small mid-market team, whatever. Even though Denver's not anymore, they're not a flyover team. But as far as thinking that way, building from within, they have the picks and they've drafted them. They've got guys there. They've drafted the right guys. Chet Holmgren's not bad.
I was just about to ask who's rookie of the year so far, Chet or Wemby.
Wemby. I mean, it could be Wemby. I mean, there's a couple other cats too that we got to keep an eye on.
Yeah, but with the hype that was surrounding Wemby, I think he almost gets it by default. But in the recent poll, I don't know where these polls are created. Chet's leading right now.
I could give it to Chet 100%.
Technically, it's the second year, but he was hurt all of last year.
He was hurt all, right.
Counting this as his first season.
And Wemby is not technically a rookie because he's played professional basketball since he was a teenager. So
he still is a teenager.
I mean, well, yeah, true.
Isn't he?
True. No, isn't he? Is he 19? Or I thought he was in his 20s. Hey, by the way, I know this is off topic, but did you see his costume that he pulled off for Halloween?
Yeah, but I don't remember what it was.
Slender Man.
Oh, yeah.
Nailed it. My youngest kid loves Slender Man, and I showed him. He's like, "Oh my God, he freaked out. Thought that was Slender Man for real." But yeah, Wemby's there. But I mean, you got
he is. He will be 20 on January 4th.
Okay, then he's a teenager.
So in a couple days, he'll be 20 years old. That's crazy. Yeah, Chet Holmgren, by the way, leading the second in block shots in the NBA. So you can say what you want. I didn't know the dude had range, though. He made like 4 3-pointers against the Nuggets the other night.
Yeah. We'll just see how, just like him and Wemby, we got to see if these guys, if their body mass adds up, if they mature into their
21.
bodies.
So Chet can drink.
Chet can get drunk. Attaboy, Chet. Didn't he just have some recent allegations too? Wasn't it Chet?
No, it was Josh Giddey.
Josh Giddey. Oh yeah, another guy that's pretty good on that team too, huh?
Yeah, and he gets booed every time he touches the ball. At least here in Denver. I don't know if he gets booed anywhere else.
That's a whole deal that could rear its ugly head again too.
Yeah, do you agree with them letting him play while this is going on?
I think if they've learned anything, because if you look at the examples we've had, I think with the NBA they don't suspend or they go through the due process of it.
Right.
The NFL they cut you. You'd be cut because you referenced the punter in Buffalo. What was his deal that just came out cleared? Ruined that guy's career potentially. So
yeah, and then he was innocent.
He was totally innocent, right? So this whole deal, from what I've seen and what I've read, and that it's a lot of timing.
And it's a touchy subject because
it's weird
because the laws in Australia are different than here. I'm just gonna put
the
it that way.
the culture's that's looked at differently, and I think even the laws in Oklahoma are different. If we're going like that, if we're going down that road, the laws in Oklahoma are different.
Yeah, so,
Which is like, what are we doing?
yeah, I'm just gonna leave that there, and we'll let it play out. Speaking of getting cut for allegations, man, did you see that the Baltimore Ravens are gonna honor Ray Rice at halftime as an NFL legend?
I saw that.
If you haven't seen the video from like 6 years ago, I don't know why this dude's going to be honored, but
apparently he's reformed, Mike, and he's he's done his parent penance. He's done what he needed to do, but apparently he's reformed, and he's actually a good guy that just had a bad mistake and made a bad choice.
Bad mistakes.
I'm just telling you what I read from. I'm just telling you what I read.
I mean, let's face it. Michael Vick is back talking about football.
He is, and I'm not comparing dogs to people. But
I know I'm not either.
But dogs to people. I mean, I'm just saying. You know, it's the timeline on throwing around another human being and being better is a lot shorter than the dog stuff, I guess.
I don't know. It's they're all sensitive subjects that, but I guess my question is, do you agree with Baltimore honoring Ray Rice as an NFL legend? Or maybe it was just a Baltimore legend.
I think it's a Baltimore legend.
Or an elevator legend. I don't remember what it's called. Yeah.
I don't.
It's sensitive.
No.
So
I wouldn't do it. If that was like, hey, if the guy or gal, whoever it was that said, hey, we should honor Ray Rice, I'd be like, nah.
Like, you're fired. Like,
Pass.
you're fired on the spot.
Yeah.
For even thinking of that idea. And not only that, Matt, the whole crowd should boo.
Yes.
Wouldn't that be something? You're honoring a dude who did this, and then that would be great if the whole freaking crowd booed him.
And it's like, even too, when I watch Cleveland games, because I'm locked into Cleveland games because of Joe Flacco now.
Joe Flacco was on our fire list. We totally forgot about Shane Falco.
We totally forgot the blue-eyed wonder.
In 3 weeks, 4 weeks, man, he's thrown more touchdowns than 3 NFL franchises already.
Mm-hmm.
Jets being one of them, by the way.
And I benefited very well this week in fantasy football playoffs. Cha-ching. Thank you. And I didn't even mean to do this, Mike. I benched, so I had to take out, because Russell Wilson was my guy. I go back and forth between Wilson and Tua. And Wilson has been getting 1 or 2 more points more a game or a week than Tua has for me. So I've riding with Russell Wilson.
Well, yeah, because he said let's ride. So you got to.
Let's ride, and statistically, he's the best quarterback in the league. So why wouldn't I start him? Duh.
Yeah.
So I go and I cut Russ, pick up Joe, and they switch.
You're not on the hook for cutting Russell, right? You don't have any dead cap space. Okay.
No, I was better at negotiation, and I came to Russ. I was like, hey, this is the way it's going to be, dude. Don't take it personal. You're not going to play. Right. So you're not going to do me any good. So he was okay with it. He understood. You might hear him talk about it sometime this week when they put a microphone in his face. But Joe Flacco, and I left him in the lineup on, I didn't even mean to do it. And I go to watch, I go to check the score, and I see Joe Flacco's going off, and happy accident.
This is the Joe Flacco that John Elway meant to sign a few years back.
Right. And and do the Jets and the Broncos look stupid now for not keeping this guy, or is this just a flash in the pan, kind of like what was the guy with Carson Wentz when Carson Wentz went down?
Was Nick Foles.
Nick Foles. By the way, is this a Nick Foles deal?
Did you see this? Some guy, Jason Lloyd on X tweeted out, in case you were wondering, Joe Flacco needs 72 yards to pass Johnny Manziel for 31st on the Browns all-time passing list. And then Johnny Football retweeted it and said some records were meant to be broken. So Johnny Manziel, good sport about it. There was another meme that I saw. I think it's some cartoon, Matt. I think it's Dragon Ball Z or something, where they have the dude in the hyperbolic chamber, getting pumped up, has all the cords attached to him,
Yeah.
And it said this was Joe Flacco, 10 weeks, the first 10 weeks of the NFL season in a hyperbolic chamber, just like on what was that? Captain America: Civil War. They had all the super soldiers in the tanks getting ready. That's where Joe Flacco was at the beginning of the season, just powering up.
He was just like the Jets didn't even go to offer him a contract.
Hey, they got Trevor Siemian now.
Oh, doesn't he look old? I never thought
Yeah.
Trevor Siemian could look old.
I was
He looks
watching
so
Hard Knocks,
old.
Matt, and the Dolphins played. I mean, he was just throwing balls in the air. He didn't even care at that point. He's like, I'm gonna throw this before I get hit.
So obviously I got the Packers going today. They could still make the playoffs. There's still a chance for them. I got love. I got all that stuff going tonight. Rivalry game, blah, blah, blah. But my bandwagon AFC team, Mike, is the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, go watch
I'm
the in-season Hard Knocks. You'll
I love Mike McDaniel.
yeah. By the way,
wasn't even interviewed here, Mike.
Yeah, neither was Kyle Shanahan. Where's that? Remember that Washington staff? This one right here.
Yeah.
Mike McDaniel was on that staff too, by the way. Same year.
Yep.
Same year.
He was I think he was the QC or something like that. One of those guys.
Yeah, they said
like
he was
that.
and then he moved to some offensive coach, but he was on that staff.
But
And I didn't know he was a coach in Houston either.
yeah. He's talk about a dude that knew what he was going to do, and just like it all might fall apart next season. I don't know, but to this point, he's one of the best coaches, young coaches in the NFL that is doing it. He can relate with the players, and he knows how to talk to them, but he still has enough of the old school mentality and mindset. And he's also taking vape rips while he's out, just taking rips while he's calling plays.
So technically, is he a Shanahan? Is he on the Shanahan tree then? If he was on that
One
staff?
of them, he's on either Kyle's tree or Mike's tree. So yes, he is on a Shanahan tree.
We'll just say Shanahan tree.
We'll just say the Shanahan tree.
So
for sure.
if you were, I mean, we're past Christmas now, but if the what do you put on the top?
The star.
So Mike Shanahan's a star.
Yep.
Kyle Shanahan is, I guess one of the top ornaments, and then you kind of trickle down from there. There's a lot of ornaments on that tree.
Yep, there are successful ornaments too. And like I said, the Broncos, I think you gotta if we might be looking at taking a page from the Rams and how this Broncos ownership is going to do things. If they do a massive trade this year, because how long is Sean Payton going to be the coach here? Is he going to be a coach here 5-10 years? Doubt it. 5 at the most. I mean,
I don't know. I think if they bring in what fits his scheme, and I don't know what fits his scheme, Matt. I don't know what happened to my voice either, but isn't Russell Wilson very similar to Drew Brees?
No, I don't think so.
No,
I never felt he was.
Height-wise, maybe.
Height-wise, he is, but as far as the way he plays quarterback, no. It's not just me saying this, but I don't think Russell Wilson can see the middle of the field. Drew Brees could see the middle of the field. He understood. He read it. I don't think Russ can. That's why a lot of times you see him bailing out of the pocket or not stepping up is because he can't see anything. He's trying to find his way out. Is that because he's tall? Not tall enough? No, I don't think that's the case. I think it's more of he just doesn't. That's not one of his strengths, and that's fine. That's okay. But I think that's one of the biggest reasons why Sean doesn't want his services anymore.
Right. So, yeah, we'll see what happens going down the season and in years coming up, because again, this could set them back a while as we look forward into the future. So, no pun intended. But that's going to do it for us here on the Wheelhouse. Make sure, again, you go to all of our social medias, Instagram, at Elevation 5280 Radio. Follow Matt at HouseDadMatt. Follow me at SportsJunkie25. Follow Matt on Twitter as well, or X. Then you can follow us as a whole at 5280 Sports Radio, at Matt Mascarenas1. I'm at Michael Spillin. Follow our YouTube channel as well at Elevation 5280 Sports Lifestyle as well. Yeah, go to e5280sports.com, our home base, Between the Lines with Kim, if you want more in-depth, at least Colorado sports recap. And then Fantasy Talk with Tom. His new one is up on the front page. I know this is championship round for a lot of season-long fantasy leagues, but if you're doing the daily fantasy leagues, he's still helping you out with those as well. Go to the audio vault. All of our past podcasts, video vault is all up there as well. So that's going to do it for us. Speaking of Houston, Matt, did you see K-Jack went back to Houston?
Yeah, I did. And
He's going home.
He went home. That was good to see that. And it was crazy that two of the captains from this team at the beginning of the season aren't even going to be playing. One of them's not even on the team.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess I get it, but it was kind of strange to see him just got cut.
I think
right when he was supposed to come back from his suspension.
That's odd. And did you see too? He was getting some kind of flack too because he was liking or agreeing with what Ryan Clark said, and he even came back and was like, "No, I got a good relationship with those guys there," and it was all.
Oh yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
Did you see that? Because Randy Gregory was sharing stuff, and then and it's just. Did you see too that like there's a lot of things? Did you see Frank Clark was released by the Seahawks?
Seahawks, yeah.
So like there's a lot of things, and Randy Greger's not a big contributor over there, and there's a lot of things that make sense that were Sean Payton moves that make sense now. And it just gives you more confidence into why Sean's, in that he's got the wheelbarrow and he's hoisting them around on the wheelbarrow. That's what I see Sean Payton.
Do you think George Payton makes it another year?
No.
Yeah.
No. I don't.
We can't have three Paytons associated with this franchise.
That's enough. That's enough. And it's not even his fault. He's going to be another, if you want to call scapegoat.
Fall guy. Yeah.
Fall guy. There you go. He's going to be a fall guy. Yep.
All right, but that's going to do it for us here on the Wheelhouse. Thank you for tuning in, watching, listening, and everything of that nature. Hope everyone has a safe and happy New Year. As next time, Matt, next time we're on. See you next year.
Go Packers.